you're around Narrandera, you might have felt a real buzz in the air over the last few days. And that's because principal photography has begun on a new feature film called When the House is Empty. And it's a real treat to be able to get a lowdown this morning from the film's associate producer, Ken Hammond, who's taken a break from production to come over and join me in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Sally. Hey, thanks for having me in here.
Oh, look, it's just so nice to be able to do these interviews face to face. It's conversation. Tell me about this film.
About the film? Well, actually, I was talking to the director last night and he knew I was coming over for an interview and he sent me a whole lot of stuff and very eloquently written about the film.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't want to take up too much time, so just a really brief, kind of in my own words, description. It's kind of a girl's journey, young lady in her 30s. I guess whether she's a young lady depends on how old you are. And she runs into sort of some hard times in the city and kind of loses a lot of stuff, and she's pregnant, and she gets left a house in the country, which is the house in Narrandera. And so in a way, it's her journey to that house, and she's been left by her father, who she's been estranged from since she was about 3 years old. So
wow.
She travels to the house, and it's a really grand old place, but it's now in a rather dilapidated, rundown state. And in a way, it's kind of her journey and what she discovers inside the house. There's mysteries and secrets about her father's life and what he's been up to, and maybe involvement in the Hungarian resistance or revolution or something.
Goodness
and there's
me.
a lot of photos and documentation and stuff, and so it's her discovery of what her father's life was about, and possibly what will happen with her life now she's made this move, and so it's also a combination between the city and the country.
It's a fascinating topic. Tell me who wrote the screenplay, who wrote the story?
It was a combination of people. The director of the play, Tim Hills, and a collection of writers all contributed to writing the script, which has been in development almost up until shooting, possibly even still doing some scenes today. So it has been a combined effort.
Yeah.
But I think it should be an interesting script and hopefully an interesting film.
That's great. Now, let's talk about, have you got names in it, or is it a relatively sort of low-profile cast?
It's it's an independent film, so we're certainly not associated with Universal or Paramount or something. So it is independent, low-budget film.
Yes.
We do have some actors around. I probably won't go into certain names. We haven't got Russell Crowe or Tom Cruise in it, but we have got some people that have done a bit in the industry, and we're hoping that will add to the overall sort of value of the film when it finally comes out, which hopefully at this stage we're looking at maybe winter next year, so around July 24. And, there's still a lot to do. I mean, we're shooting in Narrandera, obviously, at the moment, possibly right now as we speak. Hopefully, guys, if you're listening, get back to work.
That's right. Stop listening to the radio and get on with it.
Exactly. There's also shooting in Sydney and Brisbane. They've already done a little bit, but there's more to go, and then there's post-production. And so it will be a little while, but we're hoping, maybe around mid-next year, we might have a local release in some cinemas, and then possibly go off to free-to-air TV and streaming services, and there's a lot of options nowadays. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, I've recently spent a bit of time in Narrandera. It is a very, very pretty place. It's got beautiful bones, and it's a lovely, welcoming place. What was the attraction for filming there?
Okay, well, you're quite right with Narrandera being such a lovely place. I mean, it has got a bit of history to it, especially for Australia. Some nice old buildings and wide streets, and why Narrandera? I was just trying to think whether the director is actually from Narrandera or used to live in Narrandera for quite a while. He's been working up in Brisbane, and he's back now, and I think he's going to spend possibly the rest of the year in Narrandera. So that was the connection, the director and Narrandera. But there are obviously lots of options of lovely country towns around the state, but that was why it was particularly Narrandera. And I think it's a great choice. Narrandera, as you said, is a great town.
It's a beautiful town. Now, but you're originally from Leeton. You originally hail from this part of the world.
Exactly, yes. I was born and went to school in Leeton.
Yes.
So I'm quite familiar with this area. I went to university here in Wagga, but I have travelled around and lived in different places. But at the moment I'm back here, and it's possibly a nice time of the year, depending on your climactic sort of preferences.
That's right. We have discovered that we are at opposite ends of the scale. I yearn for the summer heat, and you're quite pleased we don't have it at the moment.
Exactly, yeah. I'd much rather this than, say, 42 degrees and sweltering.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can put on a jumper and sort of warm up. So, yeah.
Now, you mention the fact that there has been a really cracking TV and theatre school at CSU in Wagga. That's closed down. You're a graduate of that school. How do you feel about that closure?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit sad about that because I was there years and years ago when it was actually RMIHE just before it changed its designation to CSU. And then I went back, a few years ago now, and did the degree in television production. And they had such an array of equipment out there and facilities, and it is a real shame that it seems to have folded. They had an acting course out there. I'm not too sure where that's up to at the moment. I think that might have gone bye-bye as well. But the television course and the amount of equipment and staff and the teaching and people that have graduated from there and have gone on to other things, it is just a real shame for this area to lose something like that. So, yeah.
So when we put that into the context of the fact that you're filming locally, have you been able to get local production talent to work on your film?
Yes, we have got quite a few people locally.
Yeah.
There's also, a big contingent of people from Brisbane. We've got some from Sydney, Melbourne, I think some over from New Zealand. So there's been quite an influx into Narrandera, which is good for the town. But
Absolutely.
Yes, also some local people and great help from the locals. It seems to be really well received, like people just willing to help out in such things as catering or food or something.
And you know what? There's some ineffably exciting about somebody filming in your local area, isn't there? You feel an emotional connection to the product.
Yes, exactly right, because you get that filming right here as opposed to, there's something happening in Sydney or something. Not saying anything against Sydney. No. But also I've worked on some reasonably big productions in Sydney, and it is so different when you're working in a town like Narrandera, and possibly a lot of other small towns. Things can be so local. You can go from location to where you're having catering, and it's a few blocks away, a few streets, and the traffic, it's hardly any. It's almost non-existent, and you can just park somewhere, and it makes such a big difference. Again, not saying anything particularly against Sydney, but there's pros and cons to both the city and the country.
I was speaking to someone from Regional Development Australia earlier this morning, and we were talking about the atmosphere you encounter when you arrive in a regional centre, a big one like Wagga Wagga or a smaller one like Narrandera, and the friendliness, the welcoming nature of the people. And if you need a hand with something, you get a very different reception from a regional local to what you might get from some busy person on the streets of Sydney or Brisbane.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah, I was working on a film actually here in Wagga a few years ago now called Stakes, and I spent a bit of time doing that. And yes, the reception here was really quite good because we utilised a lot of stuff here, and it is fantastic. You don't sort of get that reaction that you might do in Sydney. It's like, yeah, you can have it if you pay for it, and you can do this.
Yeah, people want to be involved.
Yeah. It's really quite a bit of a buzz and a bit of excitement in the town, and I think that is great, and it's a reflection upon some of the people in this community and some of the people around this area. So,
Now, Ken, you are filming in Narrandera at the moment. I think you're set to finish this weekend?
Yeah, the last day of principal photography, at least for this sort of section, is Sunday, I think it is. But there may be pick-up shots and other things. Sure. We've still got Sydney and Brisbane, but this little...
And where does the caravan move to then?
We'll probably go, I think, Brisbane.
Right.
We're doing some stuff up there. But look, as I mentioned, there may be a little bit more stuff in Narrandera.
Yeah.
But this is kind of trying to get the main bulk of the country stuff shot in this time. So hopefully we'll get through it. If The weather's, well, actually, we're inside a bit, so the weather probably doesn't matter that much.
No, exactly. Well, lovely to have the opportunity to catch up with you in the studio. And we are talking about bloodshed at the banquet in a moment. I gather you might have some skin in the game there too.
That was actually quite a surprise when I was listening to the show just outside in the foyer.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm one of the cast members in Bloodshed at the Banquet well, I probably shouldn't go on about that because somebody else is going to be talking about it. But, yeah, look, it should be a good show and I'm looking forward to performing in it.
Oh, we'll have a lot of fun and enjoy the festival. And thanks for coming in.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks, Sally. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. That is Ken Hammond there talking about the film that they are working on, When the House is Empty, and something to keep an eye out for when it makes its debut, when it gets released.